So tonight's topic is about enthusiasm. Particularly, it's about guarding your enthusiasm or protecting your enthusiasm. So if you lose it, everything else can go down with it, right? And the word enthusiasm has an interesting origin and history for Christian because the word enthusiasm is not an English word. They actually took that right out from the Greek language. It came from the word enthusiasmos, which literally means in God. But in English, what it means is to be filled with God or to be inspired by a divine being. So remember, in a Greek mythology, they are really into all this spiritual, divine stuff. So the word enthusiasm to them means just being filled with God. In other words, when you say, are you enthusiastic about it? It could mean, hey, are you being so filled with God about this? Is God with you on this, right? Although the word enthusiasm is not used in the scriptures, there are some Bible verses that directly encourage people to be enthusiastic or to convey the same meaning. So I'm going to quote a few lines from the Bible. Romans chapter 12 in verse 11, it says, never lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor. And Colossians chapter 3 in verse 23, for whatever you do, do it with all of your heart, as unto the Lord, not unto men. 2 Corinthians chapter 9 in verse 7, every man according as he purposes in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity. Ecclesiastes chapter 9, we'll get there one day, whatsoever your hand finds to do, do it with all of your might. So enthusiasm simply means doing something with all of your heart or wholeheartedly. Just do it from your heart. So if you don't have enthusiasm, then how can you bear good fruit? And how can you find people to believe what you believe? And how can you help people to do what you do? Without enthusiasm, it's impossible. And nowadays, many people involved in work, business, ministry, looking after the home, or just taking care of other people are losing their enthusiasm. And this can lead to the point that people actually want to take more time off work. That can actually lead to people who want to get away from people. That also leads to lack of motivation, anxiety, burnout, depression, or even you want to leave work or leave your family. When your heart is not in it, then what else do you have? Getting more sleep or taking a few days off can help with your physical tiredness, but it won't heal the deeper emotional wounds. Because sometimes lack of enthusiasm is an internal thing. It's not a physical thing. So we have to go down to the roots of it. These wounds can keep draining your energy until you address them, or you recognize them, or you identify them, or you do something about them. And as the Bible says, a wounded spirit, who can bear? Proverbs 18:14. So this proverb still holds true to you and I today. So people lack enthusiasm in different areas. Maybe they didn't negotiate when they had conflicting values in the conversation or in an agreement or in a project. There are value differences. Now, there are nothing wrong with the both parties holding different values because we're all different. But if you don't say anything, if you don't negotiate, then eventually you feel like you have to flow, you have to go with it, and yet you're not happy. And that's how you lose your enthusiasm, right? And what about, they didn't know whether that's what they wanted to do, or they didn't have the time to talk about it enough to make sense. And or they don't know who they are, obviously, deep down. And I remember from Road to Row, I was talking to one of the leaders. She says, Stan, so if you want to talk to some people, but if you want to tell people what you want, but what if you don't know what you want? My best answer would be, well, if you don't know what you want, that means you haven't talked enough. You haven't talked enough in a safe environment and to allow your thoughts, your expression, your feeling to go out and to talk in a safe environment to the point that you can make sense of who you are and what you want to do. I mean, yes, pray, but I really think that the Lord has actually given you some answers already. And why the answer is buried is because you haven't talked enough. You really have to let your thoughts out and to talk and talk until you come to a place I realize, whoa, actually, that's what I want. And a lot of people, they don't know what they want. It actually shows that they actually don't know who they are. I actually navigate my life according to those revelations, those points. One of the points is that I know that God is my Father. And then I know that in my Christianity, relationship is something that is very important to me. See, God didn't reveal to me that he's a king or he's a warrior or he's a creator, even though he's all those. But I think probably one of the biggest revelations I have in my life is that he's my dad. And then when I know that he's my dad, then a lot of things, I would actually see it as like, well, everything is my dad's. And obviously I have to work with it, and I have to journey through it. I just base my philosophy or my ideology on the fact that God is my dad. And a lot of things actually come a lot more easier. And in a way, when I know who he is, then I know who I am. And I remember there were times that we were struggling financially with our business. And Helen was going like, Stan, can you come up with this much money? We've got this much money and we have to pay out this much by the end of Friday, Oh my gosh. I don't have any more contracts. I don't have any more phone calls. I don't have any more customers. But I would say to her, I'll say, you know what? That's okay, honey. Dad's got heaps. Who's your dad? Even though I don't have enough, but really deep down in my heart, with my faith, I just know that he's my dad. We do what is right. He will come through. As simple as that. And you did. Yeah. Yeah. I remember one time I said to Helen, Dad's got heaps. And then she goes, Dad's got heaps?
Oh, this dad.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, if these things describes you in any way or form, then these 12 golden nuggets are for you. Okay, if you need to guard your enthusiasm, I've got 12 little points, and I'm going to go through that, and then we can discuss after that. Will that be all right? So number 1, ensure participation. Ensure participation by expressing agreement or presenting different ideas. Your input matters and can help decision making. Even if your idea isn't used, you will have more clarity and to go along with the alternative or what works. So what we found is that when we are in an organization or in a team or in a family, everyone should be able to contribute a part to it, to the point that we are all on the same page and we can all agree on something. When you contribute, when you participate, then you have ownership. And when you have ownership of that thing, then you are enthusiastic about that thing. So imagine if we all say, hey, look, let's just go to a restaurant to eat, but then you guys don't have a say. I will pick the restaurant, and then you guys also have to pay for your own. And guess what? You wouldn't even like it. But imagine if I open up and say, hey, look, let's go out and eat. What is your ideas? You know what I mean? So everyone can chip in, everyone can enjoy. And I remember Max, when he was young, I think when he was, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 or 12, one time in our church, we were planning a sport activity. And we were like planning in front of Max and Brianna. They were young. And we said, oh, no, that person's going to do this person's going to do that. And then all of a sudden, Max actually bursted out crying. I don't know whether you remember that, Alan. He bursted out crying. I said, well, what's wrong, Max? He goes, my name is not on the paper. I want to participate. Like everyone actually has a natural desire to be part of something. So that means in any healthy relationship or conversations, speak up. If you agree, you say agree. You don't say, oh, I don't say anything or whatever you want. That's not participation. And that's why you don't have the motivation, and it's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for the rest of the team. Does that make sense? Number 2, endorse peace over perfection. This is a good one. Endorse peace over perfection. That means, a lot of us, we want to do things perfectly. Absolute perfection is not even I think. You know why? Because imagine if you can craft a perfect piece of art today, and in, next time you can actually create something even better. So how can you call your previous creation perfect? It's impossible. We just use that as a sugarcoat. It's an idea that is not realistic. So what should we call it? Well, I just think given the amount of time that you have to do whatever you need to do, be ready to accept the idea of good enough. Sometimes good enough is just good enough. You don't have to be perfect. Does that make sense? Why is that? Because sometimes when people try to pursue perfection, they get stressed out, they get anxious, they overfunction, they overthink. And it's absolutely not helpful. But when you come to a place where you think, whatever I've done, I can come to a place where I can say, that's good enough. My heart is settled. When your heart is settled, then you will have peace. When you have peace and it's all good, you are not trying to be perfect. You are trying to be peaceful. But apparently, peace is a virtue of God, not perfection. So endorse peace over perfectionism. Number 3, envision big dreams with small steps. Envision big dreams with small steps. So don't lose track of your big goals while taking small steps, guys. Or you may become disillusioned with people, achievement, purpose, life in general, God, or yourself. Keep the big picture, get the small steps done, and just keep doing it. If you lose the big picture, the small steps can mean nothing. If you keep the big picture, but without taking small steps, then you are going nowhere. When God said to Abraham, look at the sand on the seashore, your descendants will be as numerous as the sand of the seashore. Did you see the small steps and the big picture in that small line? The sand and then the seashore. The big picture is the seashore, but don't forget about the sand. Look at the sand too. And what I found is that a lot of people, they give up on having their big pictures or taking small steps is because of some sort of disappointments in the past. Whether they are disappointed with people or life or God or themselves in general. So therefore, if you want to keep that big picture as small steps in mind, maybe you need to readjust your perspectives on life, how you see things, right? What does that mean? What about on people? Do you need to lower your expectations on people? Sometimes we might think, oh, he's a teacher, so he should know better. No, they don't. Oh, he's a dad, so he should do better. Oh, no, they don't. It's not the people who disappointed you. It's your expectations on people that disappointed you. But once you lower the expectation and say, hey, look, this guy is the guy I admire, that I admire the most. But you know what? He can have a bad day. It's okay. I don't have to write him off. You see, right there, I adjusted my expectations. I don't go crazy like, whoa, I admire him, so he should be perfect in all ways, right? And right there, I get disappointed. Why should I be, as long as I adjust my expectations? We think that life should be easy, but life is not easy. For me, I would say life is not easy, but life doesn't have to be unnecessarily difficult if you can apply wisdom to it, okay? What about on God? Do we think that God is a quick fix guy? It's just like, whenever I'm in trouble, God comes in and rescue me. No, maybe I have to learn. I was so much in a hurry to buy the courier run. I pressed on Helen and I quickly picked up the money and I paid for the courier run and the guy disappeared. At that time, Helen was saying that, oh, I'm not sure about that guy. You're not sure about your run. But you know what? I went ahead. And guess what happened? The next 2.5 years, I suffered so badly. But it was good because I had to work for 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2.5 years. $2 an hour. It was such a hard run. Sometimes my legs would still twitch because I ran too much. So I got that thing on me, for the rest of my life. It reminded me of the bad decision that I made. Yeah. Too hasty. Yeah, I was just too hasty. I was just like pressing. Yeah. What about on yourself? Are you upset with yourself for making mistakes? And does your mind criticize you or support you? You have to reevaluate these things. Number 4, establish order. Establish order because God can't bless a mess. So what does that mean? Tidy up your desk, clean your workstation, reorganize the folders on your Google Drive, on your computer screen, so that you can think more clearly. Don't keep working in chaos. Okay, it's draining you. It's taking so much energy of you. You can't think straight. Okay, label your bills and tools and documents and files and receipts, and your accountants will thank you, and you can pay them less.
Just use 0.
Oh, okay. I should add that on. But the whole idea is that establish order. You just can't go, oh, I feel this way, so I'll jump on this. Oh, I don't have the motivation, so I don't want to do it. Oh, it's too messy, so I don't want to work. Okay, you're going to have some sort of order and sequence in your life. Amen? Please help yourself to reduce the stress levels and the confusion. It can only help yourself. Okay? Number 5, energize your life by rediscovering fun, family, and fulfillment. Make time for fun and relaxation. Recharging means getting your emotionally centered and staying fit. For some, this means turning obligations into something that you actually enjoy doing. I think we all have some obligations in our lives, but I just really think that if you can think it through, reflect it through, you can see the big pictures, or you can find some good legitimate reasons, some of your obligations can become joy, can become something that you enjoy doing. So don't just like, oh, I don't want to do it because it's obligation. Think it through, okay? Whatever we teach, we're not asking you to quit, okay? Because like you have to think it through, okay? Number 6, explore your emotions. Learn to sit with your unbearable feelings so that they don't control you. Getting familiar with your difficult emotions is a pathway for healing. If you want to get healed, that's part of it as well. You're all familiar with UBFs, but I just want to share a quick story. Recently, I learned to sit with my own feeling, and I found healing from a traumatic experience that I had from my childhood. And I released the pain. I cried a little bit. I let it out, and after that, but anyway, thanks to Helen. And after that, when Helen asked me about the same experience, I didn't react. I didn't get triggered. I didn't get overwhelmed emotionally. I remember the memory, but I didn't feel anything. I can recall the experience without feeling overwhelmed because I'm healed. So this is something that you want to explore. Don't run away from that. If the Lord opens up that particular topic, just ask the Holy Spirit to help you. The Lord wants to bring you healing on that. Amen? Number 7, expand your possibilities, because we don't like to do things out of obligation all the time. In other words, stop doing things just because you feel you should. If your actions go one way while your heart and your mind goes another, you will become unproductive and unfruitful. So don't do that to yourself, right? All the should-offs, could-offs, and would-offs, those things will actually kill your enthusiasm. So don't compromise just to make things easier. Stick to your own terms. Either you commit fully to something or you stop doing it until you really have a reason to do it. And pretend agreements are enthusiasm killers too. When you and someone else agree on something, but without clear expectations or clear points, then eventually it will lead to broken relationships or frustration. So you don't want to do that. I don't like to go to the supermarket on Saturday and Sunday. Well, I'll still do sometimes, but I'll just quickly go in and out. But if I really want to do a thorough shopping, I will pick a weekday. Then I feel like I can enjoy the process, right? Things like that, you can determine, or I would say, do it on your own terms, okay? Don't always say, because my wife told me to, so I'm going to do it now. Right? Come on, we don't do obligations well, okay? So don't try not to do it that much, or minimize it every time. Number 8, encourage a clear conscience by being more authentic. So I think Jerry likes that idea of being honest with yourself, and that's pretty much it. Encourage a clear conscience by being authentic. You got to be authentic with yourself. There's a lot of second guessing going. Like, you don't want to do that because I know that person will get upset. Oh, I'll better don't do that because that person will say something nasty about me. Or that person will tease me when I say that. Well, it's too much second guessing. When you do a lot of second guessing, that means you can't be authentic with yourself. You can't be honest with yourself. So I'm not even allowed to say what I want to say and what I want to think. And eventually, you will learn to stop the whole thinking process in your mind, because you're actually stopping yourself to think. Well, but what if that person is really difficult? Yeah, okay, well, you need to apply wisdom, but it doesn't mean you need to do that to anyone and everyone. There are still a lot of people that you can talk authentically and honestly. So put your energy on there, invest in those relationships. Number 9, embrace soul care. In other words, be much more gentle with yourself. And I found that with a lot of Christians, beat ups is the thing. We self beat ups. We always feel so condemned. We've done something wrong and then we repent. Be kinder to yourself. Remember, life doesn't have to be heavy burdened. Your mind should support you, not criticize you. So don't allow your mind to criticize you. And number 10, this is my favorite. I added there. Encounter God. Okay, enthusiasm comes from being loved. And like we said before, God is love. Okay, those connection moments with God are the ultimate sources for enthusiasm, for our enthusiasm. By inviting him into your life, by seeking him, by dwelling in his presence, by allowing, like Helen said, by allowing him to love you, to speak to you personally. That's where you find your heart for God, for life, for people, for achievement, for purpose, and for yourself. Everything else will flow from that. So I'm going to leave you with one particular verse, John 15 in verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So these are the 10 quick points. Notes, some papers on the notes. So where'd you put it, Helen?
Any questions?
Yeah. Any questions, and we can share before we break out.
You do have a couple of things to add if nobody else has.
Oh yes, please. Yeah.
So I think also look into your physical. There are physical causes for your lack of enthusiasm. So there could be chemical imbalances in the brain, for example, depression.
That's good.
Bipolar and all that. So I know when I ate so much gluten, I had zero energy. I was zero motivated for everything. And I actually got a bit depressed because I'm so demotivated. I don't feel like it because I'm so tired and so fatigued. Okay, and so also look at your spiritual levels as well. Don't forget that one. So one time I was resentful of God and I had unforgiveness in my heart towards him. And I only noticed that when I just stopped reading the Bible, I stopped praying, and that's how I noticed that, why is God so far away? And then I started thinking back. I felt resentful of him for these certain things. I can't remember what it was, but that was what it was. And when I said sorry to God. I said, I'm sorry, God, I don't blame you. It's my choice. And yeah, I apologize to God, and then we were all good. Yeah. Also, I want to say that perfection is a form of control. I used to be into perfectionism of certain areas, and it's also a very convenient avoidance of our unbearable feelings. And one of the most common ones is just a fear of failure. I don't want to feel like I failed. I don't want to feel like I let someone down. I don't want to face disappointment. So that's why I need everything done perfectly well. And I get so angry with myself or other people if they didn't get it right. So I just want to add that. And also I want to also add that also another thing when you lose your enthusiasm is when you're doing something against your conscience. Right? So if you, say, sign a contract or you're a partner up with somebody or what you're doing is wrong, my conscience is telling me, but I'm kind of shutting it down. If I keep doing that thing and I know it's wrong, my enthusiasm will slowly drain away because you cannot go against your conscience. You have to go with doing what's right, and then God's blessing is there too.
Very good, Alan.
Good.